Good morning, Chris. Pleasure to be here.
So, I was wondering if we could just start with a little bit background context about GRI, an introduction, if you like, to the company and how we got to this point. How did GRI start out?
So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've grown up in a family business and always been looking at different opportunities. So several years ago, when I was looking at the rubber industry and the tire industry in particularly, and this goes back almost, 20 years. So GRI started in 2002, and I was looking at the business just a little bit before that. And understanding the rubber business, it was a new business for us. It was a new area, and we wanted to expand into and diversify from our family business, our traditional family businesses in agriculture. And looked at the rubber sector, then looked at the tire sector, seemed very interesting, saw a lot of potential, and we started by setting up the first plant in 2002 in the material handling industry, built that business throughout the last so many years. And then 5 years ago, decided to expand into pneumatics by doing agriculture and construction tires. So today, GRI is a fully fledged supplier in material handling tires, agri, and construction tires. And GRI has the only tire plant in Sri Lanka that has the capability to produce radial agricultural tires in this country.
So what was it that particularly attracted you to the tire sector?
So, Sri Lanka has historically been known for very good quality rubber. And also there was quite a few large players based in Sri Lanka in the material handling sector. For those who don't know, Sri Lanka is the largest producer of material handling tires in the world, specifically in solid tires. So looking at that and also the know-how that was available in Sri Lanka, it was natural that it was a great business opportunity. Of course, it was interesting for me being an entrepreneur, I like to look at new things and figuring out new businesses and understanding how to explore within those businesses. So it was certainly an exciting time. It's been an exciting ride all this time.
So having established the first factory in 2002, what is the production capacity now in those different categories that you've built into since the last 18 years?
So effectively, if you take about our entire business, right now, we've got if you take all our businesses combined together, we're running at about just under 100 tons a day of production between all the different segments. And that's what the business is as of now.
And I noticed recently that you've added some extra mixing capacity. What will that do to the overall capacity?
So Chris, that's a good question. Mixing is always very important for any tire manufacturer. We've always had our own mixing plants close by to our existing plants. But as we've grown, especially with this new expansion that we did in early 2018, as we've scaled the business, we've struggled to keep up with our requirement of mixed compound. So what we decided was, without just adding machines to the existing mixing plant that we had, we'll go and invest in a brand new mixing plant, thinking of the future. So the new mixing plant is located 30 minutes away from our current facility, where all our tire manufacturing facilities are located. And we're building that plant where over a period of time, it will have total capacity of 200 tons a day. So it's a very future-oriented plant, a futuristic plant, one in terms of the kind of modern machinery that we're using. It's always interesting in the tire business. As soon as you invest new money and expand your businesses, you're able to access the latest technology. And mixing is extremely important because as long as you have very good compound, very high quality, it just makes your tires much better. So we're actually upgrading from where we are today to the new plant, which would be ready the first quarter of next year. And then that has the potential for us to, for it to meet our future demand as we increase capacity in all our plants in Sri Lanka.
You say you've invested in some cutting edge technology there. Can you give us any more detail on particularly what's been?
Some of the latest machinery in terms of the Bambury for the mixing plant and the batch off plant, and also it's completely automated because there were certain some level of manual work that we were doing in our existing plants. So we're basically looking at shutting down our existing mixing plant as soon as a new plant is ready. And it's, less people, much more automated, more environmentally friendly, etc. So the quality of the mixed compound that we'll have from that plant will be much higher. And we're quite excited about that.
So obviously, over the last 18 years, that's quite an uptick in terms of overall capacity. Is that a continuing trend? Have you got plans for further growth after this?
GRI is built on the foundation of growth. And for us, the only way we can see the business evolving is by growing. So when we look at the three different segments we're in material handling, in agri, and in construction, we see strong potential. I mean, being in business for such a long time, specifically in the material handling industry, and now since of late in agri and construction, and really our focus is on the agribusiness. Now, as we build and grow, we see huge potential. I think the world, most of the customers, they would like to work with professional suppliers, companies that have established, companies who build their brand, looking at multiple important factors such as sustainability, corporate social responsibility, and simply business credibility. The people like to do business with people that they respect. People like to do business with people that keep their word, honor. And I think those are very important facts, even in this day and age. So we see growth as a key pillar to our success, and we intend to continue growing.
In other sectors, we've seen a diversification strategy that's seen manufacturers locate production bases in different parts of the world in order to avoid import tariffs. At the moment, everything's at GRI is based in Sri Lanka. There are no import tariffs from big markets such as Europe and America. But would you consider a production base in a different country in the future?
So tariff problem, fortunately, is not a problem for us in Sri Lanka because we have tariff neutrality in terms of key markets such as Europe and the US. So it's not a problem. Actually, I think we have an advantage over most of the other players in the Asian region. But I would say down the road, GRI will need to look at having an additional plant outside Sri Lanka just in terms of managing risk. So that's something we would do once we build sufficient capacity in the new plant which we built in 2018. I don't know if you're aware or not, Chris, the new plant we built in 2018 was built on the principle that it will grow fourfold over the few years. So we need to execute that first and then subsequently look at a plant in somewhere outside Sri Lanka.
So far we talked quite a lot about growth and capacity, but what about the distribution, the export strategy? I'm guessing a large proportion is destined for export.
Majority of our business is in the export business. Of course, with the pandemic, we found an opportunity in the local market, which we are catering to now. So that's something new we've been doing, but majority of our business is in export. So as I said before, we've built 2 decades of relationships. These are long-standing relationships, either with customers in the replacement business, either with institutional customers or OE customers. And these are incredible relationships that we, GRI, can leverage on. Our go-to-market strategy has been very clear. We want to be closer to the customer. We want to directly be with the customer so we understand their needs and we can give them incredible service. So we work with our B2B partners, getting closer to the customer through our distribution partners. That's number 1. And number 2, GRI has its own distribution in 9 different countries across the world. So we use our entire global sales force along with our distribution network also to be closer to the customers. So that's a strategy we've been deploying for a long time, for quite some time now. And I think that's something we would build upon as well as time goes on.
Do you have any particular key markets right now and key target markets for the future?
We've been focusing primarily in all our businesses in the US and Europe. One market outside these areas that we've been looking at and we've been active in has been Australia. So we've been having our own distribution company in Australia for some time, but we bought an additional distribution company last year in 2019. And we've been able to increase the size of our business in Australia. So that's a potential market for us. We've got a fantastic team based in Australia, and we've got multiple locations in multiple cities in Australia. So we've got distribution warehouses in Sydney, in Melbourne, in Adelaide, in Brisbane. So we've got a great operation there. We also, of course, through our distribution platform in the US, expanding in the US as well. Right now we're in Kentucky, Indiana, in Louisiana, but we're looking at more areas to expand in that range as well. In 2019, we also invested in Eastern Europe. So we invested and bought in a company in the Baltics and distribution businesses in Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. And then historically, we've had our companies in France, in Germany, in Netherlands. So for us, we want to utilize all those distribution companies on one side, and on the other side are very close distributors who we work with for many, many years. Our business is all about building lifelong relationships. And that's how I've built my business. I've been successful using that kind of methodology. And for us, if we can find a way to work together to build value to the customer, which is what we've been successful at, I think that's a good strategy to go on.
So within Europe, you mentioned a few countries there, but I noticed the UK wasn't amongst that list. Are there any particular target markets for growth within Europe?
I would say in terms of our material handling business, the growth would be mainly from Eastern Europe and Russia. I think that would be our key focus, because some of the Western European countries, I think we have a mature business in those areas. And for our agri-business, it's pretty much across Europe and the US.
So I noticed you referred to the Tyre acquisition from 2019 there in terms of growth in Eastern Europe. Is that a model in some respects for your expansion plans in different parts of the world?
I think been using that model for quite some time. It's what we did in Australia, what we've done in Eastern Europe, what we've done in the United States. And I think, if a model works, we'll continue to use it, that's for sure.
Brilliant. How has the pandemic, that we obviously all can't avoid talking about at some point, how has that affected your approach to business?
I would say at the beginning, of course, when you're dealing with uncertainty and you don't know what's in front of you, I think our organization was very smart to be proactive. So for us, it was all about cutting the fat, but not the muscle. So we were very proactive to understand what's in front of us, what the ground situation is. We always had a very strong inclination towards lean and manufacturing excellence. Those are certain things that we accelerated. And number two, with travel being disrupted, we found new ways to get closer to our customers. So I think now, even without being able to travel, we talk to our customers even more than what we used to do before, just by using Zoom and Teams and different kinds of electronic communications. So I think the pandemic has been an interesting situation for businesses to become more resilient. I think GRI was ready to be that, and we were, at the beginning itself, we got prepared very fast. I don't think we panicked, but we made the right decisions at the right time. So when I look at ourselves today, after so many months of the escalation of the pandemic, we're doing extremely well. We're very happy where we are. I think we've taken the right decisions, the right choices, and our business is growing. So to some extent, I would say we are pandemic proof.
So the data that I've seen so far would suggest that the most affected areas of the business were the passenger car, truck tyre side of the business. Do you think that industrial, construction, specialty, agricultural tyres have actually fared better than other business segments at this time?
So the specialty tyre segment, which includes material handling, agri, construction, have different facets to it. One thing the pandemic has created is that there's been a huge interest on food and food security, for example. So because of that, there's an incredible uptick in agri-tire sales, because there's so much money going into investments into agriculture, there's so much demand, etc. So we've seen a serious spike in the agri-tire business. We've seen our material handling business slow down a little bit, but that's been compensated by the agri-tire business. And that's why I'm saying that we're doing even better this year than we did last year. I would say you're right when you talk about passenger transport and automotive vehicles, but when you talk about the specialty tire segment, I think it's a little bit more unique than the on-road vehicles. And if you take something like construction tires, one easy way the governments across the world would use to create a stimulus in their economies is by putting money into construction. As soon as that happens, you're going to see an uptick in construction tires. And now, in terms of global trade, we're almost at 90% pre-pandemic levels in terms of global trade. So when you're at global trade at pre-90%, even material handling business will pick up because that basically is driven by how global trade is. So overall, I mean, I think I'm blessed, and I think we are blessed to be in this sector. And I think also we've been quite smart in the way to manage the pandemic and use it as an advantage to our business. And at the same time, I think our early action by being prepared and working on the fat and not the muscle, we were ready to meet the demand of the market.
So looking a little bit more precisely at one of your subsectors, I was fascinated to see your winter OTR tyre pioneering earlier in the year. And also I'm aware that you are at the forefront of Sri Lankan radial OTR tyre production. So I just wonder, is this an area of focus for the future to kind of move into the high value but also very competitive OTR tyre segment?
Actually, Chris, we did a special project on the winter OTR. That's why we were it was a very unique product and we were quite keen to do that. However, we don't do radial OTR in Sri Lanka. We do radial tire manufacturing, but we are not doing radial OTR specifically. We are looking at growth in the radial segment as well as the bi segment, and our focus on growth is in material handling and in agriculture.
So in terms of the niche that you are focusing on, the radial agricultural side out of Sri Lanka, is that an area of further growth?
I lost you, sorry?
So in terms of the radial agricultural tyres that you're producing, is that an area for growth?
Absolutely. That's where we would be focusing on more in terms of capacity additions down the road would be on the radial sector. We want to be a specialized radial agri-tire player.
So is that something that sets GRI apart from competitors in the market?
I think there are a lot of different things that sets us apart in terms of competition. And honestly, it's really how we can build a business which is unique. I mean, we are a very agile company, very focused, very driven, very resilient, at the same time quite innovative. When you talk about some of the new products we've been introducing in terms of new SKUs and the new kinds of products that we're working on, and right now we've got so many different products that we're working on which we still haven't launched. So all these put together makes GRI unique. And on top of that, when we can build lifelong relationships, I think that's a true test of a partnership.
So on the subject of building relationships and staying connected, you alluded to using modern technologies as a way of doing that. And here we are talking via video across the continents. What kind of things are you doing to keep in touch?
So we've actually increased our digital, everything to do with our digital platform so we can get closer to our customers. So we're working on different aspects of our digital platform in terms of the way we can serve our customers. And then, of course, obvious things like video calls and stuff like that, so we can talk to our customers more often. And then digitizing our business to become closer to the customer is something that we are really working on now in terms of how it'd be easier for them to function with us, and we can build an ecosystem between our customers and ourselves.
So you also mentioned that you're using increased levels of automation in the production side of things. Is there a bid to join those up in an industry 4.0?
That's something that's going to impact all manufacturers in the world. I mean, when you have a situation like what we are going through right now, I mean, you know, with the situation of COVID, you need a certain level of automation. And we've been working on this for some time, but certainly we would be looking at accelerating that now.
And finally, looking towards the future, there's an increased trend towards the use of sensorization in tyres. Are you considering using maybe RFID tracking for logistics or any of these technologies and potentially sensors in the future in tyres?
We are already using them with certain specific customers of ours, and we are already prototyped them, and they're already in applications being used. We are not using it holistically across the world, but in certain cases, we've already got that in motion.
Is that RFID technology in particular?
RFID, yes. I think it's also a play between getting technology to meet the historical business of rubber, and that's something new across the industry. And most of the different people are doing different kinds of things, and also the customers are looking at such solutions as well. So we are already working on things.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much for your time. It's great to hear a little bit more about what's going on with GRI. Hopefully we can do it again soon in the future. But for now, Prabhat Supersinger, Managing Director of GRI, many thanks.
Thank you very much, Chris. You have a good day and stay safe.